I think I had one Reiki session with somebody once before, and it really didn't feel like much. I It was during the pandemic had just started, and I was feeling a lot of anxiety. I worked at a skilled nursing facility. I was 68 at the time. My husband was having health problems, and I was getting a lot of, I knew, psychosomatic symptoms. Like I kept feeling like I was having an asthma attack, but there was no reason to be having an asthma attack. And so I mentioned to somebody, a friend who did it, that and I knew she had talked about doing it from a distance, if, whether she could do it with me. And she said, no, but I know just the person for you. I think you guys will really click. So she gave me Tekla's number, and she was correct. The two of us really did connect. My symptoms went away very quickly. It was really, for me, I had been working full time previous to this. So it seemed to be a time of just a lot of opening and growth, all of a sudden being home and being able to meditate and being able to do Reiki. And it was like a magical moment in my life at that point. It's one of those things I wish I could grab and hold on to, but it's not one of those things you sustain. It was just this creative time, and just things are just popping. So there were some great insights, and I thought it would be also just exciting to be able to learn the skills myself. I'm kind of an independent person, so the thought of being able to do self-healing was very appealing to me. And also I did work in the medical field, and there were a lot of times where I felt like, oh, gee, I've got this energy in my hands, but I don't have it in my hands. Like I could feel something could be there. I was really contemplating whether I was going to go back to work. And my family was all kind of freaking out about me, not because I was working at the time, and about not going. They were concerned about their health. They were concerned about my health. And we had a session. And one of the things, I wanted clarity as to what I should be doing. And we hang up, and probably like within 5 minutes, I got a call saying that I was furloughed. So that was a pretty amazing thing. So that was sort of the energy that Reiki can do. I mean, it was like, oh, okay, problem solved. I felt a lot more energy. Some of the people were really amazing. So I also kind of started getting a little bit of fear that, like, oh my gosh, they've got things and I don't. And so there was a little bit of that happening. I loved some of the stuff of listening of just being able to listen, that we'd been going over, and using the energy. And it's actually something that I've taught other people to do in terms of protecting their energy, or people have told me about situations, and I've been able to share with other people on setting up protective boundaries. I kind of feel I have been in the medical field for a long, long time. And so I've kind of, not as beautifully done, but I think I kind of learned to do some protective, probably to the point that it kind of shut me off. I've worked in child abuse units. I've worked in, psych with veterans who, from World War II, and just have these nightmares. And so I've worked a lot with a lot of people who in the beginning was just devastating to me. And so I think along the way, probably, I wish I would have learned this technique sooner, because I probably would have learned not to cut myself off, as a means of protection. I would have probably been able to learn to do sort of a boundary and be a little bit more, the memory being a little bit more where it could go back and forth. But I think that, I've been in this field a long time. I'm 69, so I've been working a long time in that field. So there's been a little bit of where I've just had to learn to do boundaries. But I think maybe they're not done as healthily as I would have done if I would have learned in this program, and that I think some of my intuitive and my empathetic had to kind of be shut down in order to survive. There were times, that I kind of felt like a lot of people were just like really like waking up. And I'm like, I think just because I've had to put a shield over, and there's, in order to survive and stuff. So I think I have a little bit more of a resistance than some of the people had, maybe from, practicing that for so many years. And so there was sometimes a little bit of going, oh gosh, I'm going to go and I'm not going to be able to do this and blah, 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 blah. But I've also been taught, you fake it till you make it. So, just kind of, just to keep persevering and just persevere, because you don't know, and I think one of the great things about the way Tekla works is that we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to kind of progress as we are, and she was saying, like, there are times that she had blocks, there are times when things work through. And so I just kept on showing up. It's interesting is a lot of us, I found, we're all sort of dealing with sort of some similar elements. I mean, we're of different ages and sort of my journey in a sense was very different than many of the others who are younger and they have families and, younger kids and stuff like that. But there was just a certain themes that ran through all of us. And it was kind of really, a lot of it with other people in our lives that have been challenging. And so I think that there was this real ability to support each other outside of this, is to be able to sit there and say, I hear you and I've gone through the same thing, or I'm going through the same thing. And so there was a real thing of support there, and where you don't have to use this whole explaining business because people just get it. And so I think that was a really interesting thing to see, that we all had this one particular issue in our lives, dealing with other people, someone else in our lives. So it was interesting seeing that. And it was also great just to be able to support each other as a community and individually with it. Nobody tried to solve anybody's problems. We were just there to hold space. So there was nobody saying, okay, you need to do this, blah, blah, but rather, I hear you, I'm holding space for you, I feel it, I've been, I completely get it. So it was really great being able to see the growth in people, how I feel like as a community, we all grew together. You have to, you don't always want to do it, but you do it anyways, because that's just what the practice is about. And so that you gain strength by pushing yourself. Otherwise, it's just really easy, I think, in general, to just, my life, I know from experience that if I don't do that, then it starts getting more and more reason not to do something. So it's sometimes just just showing up. And sometimes that's all you have to do is you just show up. You don't even have to really completely be there. You just show up. Since we did it as a group, what it did is it created a community. There are times when you do feel resistance, and there are times when you do feel uncomfortable. And if it was just for 2 weekends, you wouldn't have time to work it out. And this way you've got this community of people, and you've got where you have to keep showing up. So it would be so easy just to run away and say, oh, it's not working, but what the commitment does is it allows you to really just keep working and persevering and allowing that energy to happen, and allows you really to find your own space, especially, when you've got a teacher like Tekla who's really encouraging you to find your own path, who's not saying it has to be done this way. So I think the long commitment has really made it so that, one, the community is built, but also has given me a time to really allow me to find my own way. Before, since like I've said before, it's like I've had to find things to do a little differently than what maybe some of the other people do. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if it was just, the 2 weekends to do the Reiki 1 and 2. If it would have just been a quick thing, then I probably wouldn't have just, during the difficult times, the recent times, I might just let it go rather than saying, okay, I've committed to this. I'm going to show up. There's all these people. And so it really has helped me to let go and to move past when I feel those blockages. And it also just creates a really, matter of fact, I think we'd all like to get together. It's really made, it's created a really strong community of what I call just amazingly wonderful, strong women.